Welcome to the MFR Coaches podcast, where we talk about how you can create a six-figure MFR practice. I'm your host, Heather Hommel. Not only have I been practicing MFR for 11 years, I'm also a life and business coach, especially for MFR therapists. My goal is for you to understand how to get fully booked, how to talk to your clients, and how to make sure they understand what's possible for them with MFR treatment. I'm here to help you stop under-earning, overworking, and burning out. I'll lend support so you can create the MFR practice you've always wanted. Learn how you can do it too, even if you live in a tiny town, and even if you're just starting out, and even if you've ran your practice for years. Let's go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the MFR Coaches podcast. I'm joined today by one of my foundation students, Luan Menda. Luan is the owner of Intentional Connections, located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. She's been with me in the program since August of 2024. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Hi, Heather. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah.
I look forward to this.
I'm excited to interview you. And I was rereading your intake form, and you said you found me through the podcast. So what is it like being on the podcast now, knowing that you've listened to so many episodes?
Oh, wow. That's a tricky question for me. It's a big deal, to be honest with you, because I'm not on social media. So like these things are not my normal go-to. So it feels kind of cool, fun, and curious around, whatever our conversation comes up for today.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, I think, to have a record of this in the way of business building. I look at it as a giant body of work. I started this podcast back in 2021, April of 2021. So that was like really right at the beginning of this coaching business. And so it's kind of fun to see the progression of myself, but like the progression of all of the students that have been on the podcast. And I was just reminiscing with Leslie Moeller. You might know her. She's going to be on an episode later. Well, it'll air before this airs, but I was just saying, you've been on the podcast like 5 or 6 times. It's so fun. So hopefully we'll do a check-in with you, a year from now or 2 years from now, and we'll really see like what else is cooking for you. But before we do that, we have to tell people what brought you to coaching. What was going on with you when you decided to sign up for Foundations?
Yes, thank you for the question. So last year I went through a lot of situations and experiences that I feel kind of shifted my perspective of what I wanted in my life. And where I was, it just wasn't serving me. So I started to get really curious about my next step. And I was going to open up a business with my friend. And then it just turned out that it just didn't work out. And then in June, I took a visceral manipulation class. And I met somebody there that was also an MFR therapist. And she was like, "Do you know Heather Hommel?" And I'm like, "No, because I'm so far away from like MFR, or I was before your Foundations." And then I binge listened to your podcast for like 2 months. And I was like, I obviously need this. And it just kind of kept the ball rolling. Like this was the next step that I wanted, was to do something on my own, to have a lot more flexibility in my life. I was doing a pretty intense commute for over 7.5 years. So I knew that that wasn't serving me either. So once I started to listen to your podcast, I was like, well, I need this 100%. And then I think there was like 2 days left to join in August. And I just was like, you know what? I have Publix stocks. I retired from Publix, a supermarket, in 2007. And I was never going to touch those stocks until like after I was 60. But I was like, it's not a lot of money. And when I looked at how much money I had, it was like $3,200. I'm like, it's like meant to be. It's $3,000 for her course. I'm signing up. I sold my stock. And then I've been with you since August. And I have such gratitude for you and Meg and your team for what you guys offer, honestly, like on a weekly basis. It covers so many realms, things that I wouldn't think of. I don't really know much about being a business owner. So you guys are giving me a lot of insight on that. So thank you.
I love that so much. I've never heard of someone selling their stocks to join the program. So it's really fun to see where people come up with the money to do the program. Like when I first hired my first coach, I sold my boat. You've probably heard the story.
Yes.
To be able to pay for it. And yeah, that's fun. Cool. Well, very exciting story. So you sold stocks and then started in the program. What was your initial goal coming into the program?
I think to get clarity on opening up a business, just like the basis and the logistics of things, which was really helpful to have you guys as coaches there for me, like rooting me on in the background, just from like the little stuff of getting the LLC. And then I also have Jen, who has been on your podcast before. Also, she gave me like a list of things that she recommended for me to do to get my business started. So it just was nice to have support to do like my LLC, get my EIN number, my liability insurance, like all of the things that I probably never put energy into or even knew I needed to do. So just having you in the background just guided me to be more factual versus emotional. I'm very emotional. Like that's my jam. I'm very good at making decisions and emotions, believe it or not, but sometimes I do need to be logical. And I think in your foundations program with your Raise Your Rate bootcamp, like it helped me to get really factual about my number. So like before I started my business, I already knew what my rate was going to be. And Heather, I can tell you, like, I just feel good about it, right? Like I feel good that I chose the right rate, but at the same time, I'm not emotional about it, which I know sounds contradicting, but meaning I'm not putting so much energy into it. I put the facts in as you guided with that, with the budgeting and everything like that, and just kind of move through it.
I love that.
So that was a big part too, before I opened my business, was knowing and feeling comfortable with my rate.
Yeah, I think it really sets the stage for how quickly you will get fully booked and how quickly you'll make money if you are having any drama around the rate, or it's like giving your nervous system like pause, making you go into fight or flight. It's going to take you longer to tell people your rate, which is going to make it a longer distance between you and making money. And as a business owner, that's the whole goal. Like you really do need to be able to make money in your business in order to keep your business open, just because it costs a lot to have a business. Like it costs money to get an LLC. It costs money to open your doors. Even if you're doing this out of your home or something, it's still expensive to run a business. There are expenses related to it. So I'm excited that your factual number matched up with the number, like your dream number, like the number that you had been dreaming up before you came into the program. That's really great, actually.
Yeah. Well, I've been fortunate enough to have been exposed to raising your rate with my previous employer. So, which was hard for me for a lot of reasons. And so I think that I was already starting to prep with that kind of thought process around it. Cause of course, there's a lot of objectives towards prices. And I just love your thought process of just like, it's like someone's asking you to go to the bathroom kind of thing, like make it very neutral. Like I use that thought process for other objectives because it's so true, right? Like it just keeps it neutral. And it's like, I do have to go to the bathroom. Oh, I'm not upset that you need to go to the bathroom. That's great. Kind of thing. So it's just like little tidbits like that I found in your foundations program that's been like really helpful. Just practical advice, essentially.
Yeah.
And then also my history of where I worked really just kind of guided me to continue the process,
Yeah. So you're a physical therapist. I think I was reading your bio that you found John Barnes Myofascial Release like your second year of PT school.
Yes.
What was that like before MFR? And then you like found MFR. What was that like for you?
Well, I love this story. Actually, the universe brought me to John Barnes. I was a therapist in the hospital, so I was doing very different kinds of therapy than I do now. And like in my second year, I've been a therapist since my 14th year. My second year, I was seeing a lot of patients in the hospital that were dizzy. And I was like, I got to take a course on dizziness. I don't feel like I had enough information. I didn't know sometimes how to treat it, this and that. So in the hospital, they provided me with CEU credits and they would pay for me to take the time off to go to a course. So there was a course and it was in Fort Lauderdale and it was dizziness and my boss approved all of it. And I was like, awesome. But every time I tried to sign up, I couldn't sign up. It didn't take my credit card. It just didn't work. So now at this point, I was like, well, I already have these dates approved. I need a course. So I randomly just found a course that they were offering in Fort Lauderdale, the same dates, and it happened to be pediatric myofascial release. When I was working in the hospital, I did do pediatrics and I also did the NICU. So I had exposure already to the kiddo realm. And so I took pediatric myofascial release and I was like, I love this. And I bought a massage table and I'm like, I don't know what I need a massage table for, but I just needed the massage table. And then you know how they have, you can buy 3, you can get the discount. So I did.
Yeah.
And I was kind of just like guided to it because I never heard of John Barnes at that point in my life, or at least he would send those brochures and I never looked at it. Right.
Mhm.
So I was guided to this. And then the second course, I got really emotional during one of the techniques. And then I was like, what the heck is this? And then I got very resistant and I was like, I don't want to do MFR anymore. But I was already set to go to the next course the next week, MFR2. And then ever since then, I've just, loved MFR. So it's kind of where it took me actually really just kind of happened very organically.
Yeah, that's so fun. I love that. I think everybody, I love asking this question because everybody's story is so different yet the same. Like we all
Yeah,
just kind of stumble upon it and then we're changed for it. So good.
for sure.
Welcome in. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, so after PT school, then you always were employed as a PT and always worked for somebody else,
Yes.
but you were doing MFR only, or what was that setup like?
So I tried to incorporate in the hospital setting, which is very difficult because they really, you got to work
Yeah.
you got to work on function in the hospital. But I would incorporate it here and there if people had pain or if they were post surgical. And then I was able, luckily enough, to work with a therapist in an MFR clinic,
Mhm.
and I got to meet a lot of great people. And I have had such wonderful mentors in my life that have guided me to be a better therapist and a better
Mhm.
human being, to be honest with you. So I gradually started to incorporate more MFR when I started to work for outpatient private setting. And then I think it was after COVID. So at that time I was incorporating MFR, but also doing traditional PT.
Mhm.
And after COVID hit, I was like, you know what? I want to change. I just don't want the hustle and bustle. I don't want the insurance. And so I took the leap of faith and I talked to my boss who was, really understanding and really supportive of my decision. But I was like, I would like to only see private pay now.
Mhm.
So for the last 3 years of where I was working, I only did private pay.
Okay.
So
Very
I got
fun.
a lot of experience from it,
Yeah.
which was really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to get a taste of that before you go out on your own. Like you can kind
Yeah,
of see like the trial and error in the other business and be like, "Oh, I like this. I don't like this." Really, really take from it what you want and leave behind what you don't. So that's cool.
4,000,000%. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
Okay, so you joined my program in August. We're talking in February of 2025 and
Mhm.
are you on your second month open? When did you decide to open?
So technically, I opened October 1st,
Oh,
but
October. Okay.
but I was still working
Mhm.
with my previous employer until December 31st. So I didn't really go full throttle until January 2nd.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. That's what I had in
Yeah.
my mind. I was like, wait a minute, what? Okay.
Yes.
So,
You had it in your mind correctly.
yeah. Okay. What was it like to decide to leave your job to open your own practice? Like, what were the difficult things for you in that? And what were the easy things?
The easy things were that I just knew it was the right decision for me. Like once I made the decision, it just felt so good in my body. To be honest with you, the hardest thing for me was telling my boss.
Okay.
That one was like I spent like 2 months before telling him that that's what was that was my plan. I was
Hmm.
so uncomfortable. And I put so much energy into it and he was, very supportive. So
Yeah.
it went really smoothly and I gave the world's longest resignation notice. I gave him like 4 months before I actually left. So that
Yeah. Why do you
was
think you
good.
did that? Was that part of like the discomfort of saying you were leaving? Like, was that like the band-aid for you or the parachute?
You know what? That's such a lovely question. It's probably a part of it, but the reality is I learned a lot in that clinic. I got to work with Tara and Carol and Craig, and I'm very grateful for the experience. And if it wasn't for that experience, I would not have my own business right now to date. So the reason I say that is I respect him
Mhm.
and I wanted to give him sufficient notice if he wanted to find somebody else because it's not that easy to find somebody,
Absolutely.
especially in today's world. And so, yes, I think part of it you're correct. And then also
Yeah.
it was more of like a sign of respect, because
Yeah.
I was with him for 7.5 years.
Yeah, that's a long time. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to I love this story so much. It just proves that like you can leave any practice that you work for whatever reason, but especially like when nothing's going wrong. Like, I just love the idea of leaving because you choose to and not because anything is going wrong, not because anything's wrong with the relationship. Like, it just can be so healthy to leave when everything is going right as well. Like, just from that decision of like, I just want something different, not
Hmm.
because someone made you mad or like something happened or there was drama or whatever. And I just want to point that out because so many people will wait until something goes wrong and use that as a reason to leave, which is fair enough. Go ahead and do that. But also, like, what if you leave when like everything is going right just because you want to?
Yeah, true.
Nothing has to be going wrong. So I appreciate that. I love that you had this experience and you worked with all those incredible, like famous myofascial release therapists, famous in our MFR world. And that's so cool. Like you're one of them. You worked with them. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm very, 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 very fortunate to have had that experience.
Yeah. And your patients are too, right? It's really nice to get your skills at seminars, but then to hone them over the years with an incredible group of other therapists to treat you, to help you with your treatments, and to get to co treat, I'm sure it was an amazing
Yes.
experience.
Hmm.
Very good.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So you finally told your boss that you were leaving. You gave 4 months' notice. Then the 4 months were over. What
Hmm.
was that like to finally leave and know that you were going towards your practice?
It was and is absolutely amazing. It just every day I get confirmation that I've made the right decision, that I'm on the right path. I can't even tell you. It's going to sound dramatic, but it feels like my truth and my reality that I do feel like I have my life back. The commute that I was doing just it really took a toll on me. And so
Mhm.
I think that once I left and it's like kind of drawn out too, because I gave 4 months. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, maybe it would have been beneficial just to do like 4 weeks. But I
Y-
didn't do that, and that's okay.
All
No
right. It's
regrets.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like I have time back in my life. I have flexibility. I mean, my space is 9 minutes away from here, so I'm just
That's
it
luxurious.
was it was so smooth, Heather.
Yeah.
And I also want to just mention, like, it was smooth because of a lot of things. Your help, I had a lot of support, a lot of love, a lot of people that believe in me, thankfully.
Mhm.
And then all of the stuff that you've provided in your foundations course has just been really, really kind of cool because I've had the tools, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. That's so cool. Okay. So you open up, and what was it like? How did your first month go open?
I mean, it went really well, I think. Like, I was profitable last month, so I was grateful for that. I haven't hit my fully booked number, which is it's 20 to 25, just depending on the week. If I'm going on
Mhm.
vacation, I may work a little bit more just to kind of
Mhm.
balance some things out. Even though I did account for, like, with how you put the rates program together, I did account for taking vacation, but I'm also accounting for the amount of money that I've put into my business. So I'm open
Mhm.
to working that kind of fluctuating, like the hours fluctuating, but it's been really good. I am on the MFR directory and I've gotten, I think, 5 clients from MFR directory. And
Mhm.
the first client that I treated from the MFR directory bought a package. So it paid for itself.
That's
So
amazing.
it's been really good. Really,
That's
really
so
good.
good. That's awesome. Okay. So people can find you on the directory. You've got your website.
Hmm.
You've been open for a month. I know I've been like reading your weekly reports, and I was like thinking because of the amount of revenue you've reported, I was like, oh, she's like fully booked already. And you're like, no, I'm not even fully booked. But it's like kind of amazing to see you make a profit already, even without being fully booked. How exciting is that for you to have that much revenue coming in?
Well, I mean, it definitely feels good, but then I spoke to my CPA last week, and so I have some thoughts around it just because everything is very new to me. And I know you're guiding me with that as well, but with the
Yeah.
taxes and stuff like that. So I just have to be aware of it and, make sure that I have some boundaries with how I spend, which I'm fairly good at. I have to
Yes.
just claim. And also, my friend pointed out that it's like front loading. So when you sell packages, like in the beginning of the month, it's a pretty high revenue. And then, of course, it starts to dwindle down. So I also use that concept of recognizing that to kind of just balance it essentially. But
Mhm.
it feels good, like, I mean, I'm in it for almost 6 weeks, like really. And it feels like I'm being successful. And I don't mean just financially successful. I just mean, like, for me, success is defined as like a piece of my mind and heart are in balance. I'm not overworking. I have free time for myself and my life and self care. So, and I have all of those things right now.
Mhm. I love it.
So it's good.
That is good. And I think
Yeah.
you're going to get the hang of all of this stuff as you go. It's like Sometimes when we start a business, we want to know, the end of the story. Like, how does this end? How does this go? What are going to be all the obstacles so I can prevent it? And the thing is you can't prevent all the obstacles. Business is not linear. You're going to have really high months and you could have a 0 month, right? That could happen for various reasons. But the thing is because you've set yourself up for things to work out, they will work out. Business, it's like healing isn't linear, right?
Sure.
Things can be really bad. They can be really good. And we don't always know how it's going to go. But the point is we get where we want to go through myofascial release by not stopping. And the same thing in your business. As long as you don't stop selling MFR, you will always have clients on your books. And you'll know when you've stopped selling MFR because you'll have low weeks or you'll have low months, and you'll be able to evaluate it because you have those evaluation skills. You'll be like, what went well, what didn't go well, and what am I going to do differently next time, instead of creating the same outcome over and over and over again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think just a reminder, like that's part of the coaching is helpful because those things are going to come up. So we can at least talk through it and maybe take my thoughts out and kind of just get more to the facts. So,
Yeah, especially where the CPA is involved, and like, not to coach you on the podcast, but I end up doing this anyway. CPAs are there to work for you. And so the more you educate yourself on what you want out of that relationship, the better it's going to be. Because they don't just tell you what you're going to do. You tell them how you want them to handle your taxes. So, just continuing to educate yourself on what exactly is my profit and what is my tax bracket. How much do I need to hold out? And those are the questions that they can answer for you.
sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense too.
Mhm.
And you just like everyone, right? People give you advice, you don't have to take it, and that's okay. You take
Yeah.
what you need out of it. So,
Yeah. And any advice, like, again, take it or leave it. It might scare you. You can just be like, why am I scared of this? Or why do I not understand this? Instead of making yourself need to make the advice work. It's like, why
mhm,
do I even need to know this thing? Maybe not.
true.
And maybe so. Yeah. But we have
Right.
trainings on that in the program too. Just go and review those. Just, you will know what you're doing. Yeah. And when you're first starting out in a new business, you don't need to make these like huge decisions right from the bat. It's like, let's be in business for a year and then let's figure out, like, is it time for me to be an S Corp or is it not? Like, do I have enough profit to be an S Corp? Yes or no? Like, those are just really easy questions and you won't know until you get there.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely not even thinking about that kind of stuff right now. I'm really, really, really honing in on one step at a time.
Yeah. What's your next step, do you think?
Well, I just got certified as a wellness and happiness coach in December, right before I
Mhm.
opened up my business. So
Yeah.
my
Because why
dream,
not throw another thing on there, right?
I thought it was like completely appropriate to finish out my year at my previous employee, get 2 different certifications, and
Mhm.
then, whatever, open a business. That's just how you do
Yeah.
it sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But
Do
as
it
you
all at
can
once.
see, I'm shifting that perspective and slowing down.
Yes.
So with the certification, I'd love to coach. Like I'd love to do similar platform of what you're doing from a wellness and happiness standpoint. And when I say happiness, I just want to be clear. That doesn't mean like to be happy all the time. Really, that's not realistic. As you know, we all have multiple emotions and they're all valid. It's just
Mhm.
really giving people strategies and tools to work around some maybe emotional triggers or burnout in work, problems with relationships and stuff like that. So that's kind of my idea is to do MFR half of the time and then do maybe like 10 to 15 hours of coaching a week.
Mhm.
I'm working towards it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
hmm
will you be selling your happiness coaching to your MFR clients, or like, how do you plan to market that?
Yes. Well, I obviously will still need your skills on marketing and selling because that is the lowest skill that I have so far at this moment today as we speak.
Okay.
So, what I've done so far, I did an intro class. So, it was a free class that I offered. And I only offered it to my friends because I was not being brave. And then I kind of expanded it to other people. And it was really successful. And so, in that class, I taught 3 practical tools that are free and
Yeah.
accessible to everyone at every time to just kind of
Mhm.
help to regulate people's systems. And
Mhm.
so, then from that, I'm in the process actually, I'm doing a coaching series right now. And right now, it's really only people I know. So, that where
Mhm.
I need to expand is to people that I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'm working on that.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of people listening right now, so you never know, right?
True.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's very interesting. And I think too, like when you just from my perspective of going from an MFR therapist to starting a coaching practice, it's a lot of just making offers the same way I teach you to start your MFR business, like make offers, tell people you can help them, and do that over and over and over and over again because you never know who you're going to meet and who that's going to be helpful for. And if we assume ahead of time that no one wants to know about this because you're feeling shy or whatever, like the only thing that happens is like no one knows about it. So,
True.
and it's the same thing with MFR therapists who I think this is a known problem. I think all of us know we don't know how to sell myofascial release until we know how to sell it. And it's just because it makes this part of our brain work that is really difficult. Like it's so much easier to just be in the treatment room treating the patients. Like that's what we want to do because it's like easy, quote unquote easy. But talking about myofascial release seems hard only because we have to make our brains work in a different way. Right? We have to start thinking about the non-therapeutic relationship that we have with clients and only speak to that where we are the therapist. So what I find happening for me when I'm talking to you all about what I do from the coach's perspective, I would much rather coach all day. And I would just like to coach everybody's face off because I don't have to, it just is so natural to me now. And like the skill set and the tools are so easy for me. I just want to talk about it all day long and just coach, coach, coach. Same way you guys just want to do MFR all day long, or you probably want to coach all day long too. But in order to get people to want coaching, the same way for you guys to get people to want MFR, I have to talk about the problems that you already have and make sure that you know that I'm the solution to that problem. So that's what you guys have to do as MFR therapists. You have to talk about the problems that your clients already know they have, right? And then make sure that they also know that you can solve those problems for them. But it's so simple, but we complicate it. We're like, but they need to know about fascia and they need to know that their migraine is connected to their pelvis and that trauma that they had, right? And the thing is like, yes, they do need to know those things, but in the treatment room and prior to being in your treatment room, they don't need to know any of that. Like less is more. But it just seems so hard because we just love MFR so much. We need them to know about piezoelectricity, you know?
It's true. It's a good reminder.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can definitely still get caught up in that stuff.
Yeah. So here's the trick for you and for everybody else listening is what are the problems that your clients or your potential clients, what are the problems that they have? What are the problems that they know they have? And what are the problems that you solve? Like that's all you have to talk about. It's really easy. No one even needs to come to coaching now. I just gave it all away.
All right, Heather, it's been nice. It's going to be my
Yeah, it's
last
been
day
nice.
with
Peace
you.
out,
Thank
everybody.
you.
This is the last episode, and I'll see you all later. I'm retired.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
kidding.
it's good. But it's good. We need these gentle reminders, every so often for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I
We can
think
get caught up in it.
I am always learning myself, like how to be better at helping MFR therapists. And so like my coach is constantly like, Heather, everything, everything you just said is the coaching relationship. You need to be in the sales relationship. And it's the same thing I see with us. Like we want to be in the therapeutic relationship, but we have to be in the sales relationship. Like, unless the client is literally on the table, then you can just be in the therapeutic relationship the whole time talking about fascia and piezoelectricity and all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to building that skill over time, and I know I will, but
You
it's
will. You're
definitely,
probably better at it than you think you are.
I mean, I'm here today with you,
You've
so
made
that's
money.
not, yeah, I'm doing something all right.
You're
So,
doing something. Yes. Yes.
yeah.
What do you think is okay, so sales, you're working on your sales. What else is like, do you think is a big hurdle that you're hoping to get over while you're still in the program? Because you still have like what, 4 or 5 months left, 5, 6 months? I can't do math.
February 6th, yeah, 6 months. Well, this is a silly one, and I talked to you about it this week, but it's my intake form. So I need to get off the hurdle, or I need to try to fix the way that I'm doing intake forms, and I
Okay.
just need to get them done. It's
Okay.
silly, and I know what to do, and I'm glad we talked about it. And it's just something like I value people's time so much
Mhm.
that I want them to get that full hour, and I don't
Mhm.
like to go over on treatments because then it puts me behind, and that for me
Yeah.
is not conducive for me. Like I need to be calm before I treat.
Yeah.
So I have to just figure out a formula of how that's going to look like and work like for me.
Hmm.
So it's the silliest thing, but that's what's most present for me at this moment, I would say, as far as the hurdle goes. And then, of course, backtrack on marketing and building clientele.
Yeah. Where's your favorite place to find clients? Like, where do you think most of your clients come from?
I love when people find me on the MFR directory. I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of like a little bit of a cop out because it's like if they're finding me on this directory, they kind of get the work, essentially. That's what my experience has been.
Yeah. Well, it just means they've been referred by another MFR therapist, most likely.
Yeah. Yeah. But it feels good for me. So
Mhm.
I did a vendor event that I thought was going to be really uncomfortable, and it wasn't. It was good. I enjoyed talking to people, and it was kind of like it happened very naturally. But people would tell me, "Oh, whatever, I have this problem," and I was like, "Well, let's talk about the problem, and then where do you want to be?" And it just really flowed. So I'm going to do another vendor event in April. So I plan to probably do like 4 of those a year to see if that
Mhm.
helps to build clientele and also really just to get in the community because there's other like-minded people that go to those kinds of vendor events.
Yeah.
The ones that I'm choosing to go to at least.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Okay. What do you imagine your business is like a year from now? Like, what do you think we're talking about?
Well, I believe that I'll be fully booked. I
Hmm.
feel that I'll be fully booked and I believe that I will be doing probably 4 series a year of coaching.
Okay. I love that. I love that goal.
Hmm. And travel, but that's my own personal goal.
Yeah. Okay. Have you planned time off for travel?
Yeah, I'm going to Arizona next week, of course. That's like I would rather, I have this ongoing joke, and you can edit this on your podcast if you want to, but like, I would rather travel than buy underwear or a bra. I would rather have holes in my underwear and go somewhere cool than say, like, I got a new pair of underwear. So
I love
just
that.
so you know, it's a priority for me.
It sounds like it's a priority for you.
Yeah,
We will not be checking your underwear. Please bring shorts to the next
I
seminar.
appreciate that. Yeah.
That's
Yes.
so funny.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
my
the truth
gosh.
though. Like, it's
Yeah,
just like my truth. Yeah.
I love that. I was just thinking today in my next launch when I sell for more spaces in the program, I'm like, I need to set up like some rewards for myself. Like when I hit this many sales, and I was like, when I get this many sales, I'm going to go buy new underwear. I
Wow.
know. So I was like thinking about my underwear today too. So funny.
Life goals.
Life goals. I mean, sometimes they're kind of small, but that's okay.
That's why we
Maybe
make it
some
our own, right?
luxurious ones or something. I don't know.
I'm happy for you. That's amazing.
Thank you so much. People are like, why are we talking about this? Okay. What would you say to someone who's like you? They found me on the podcast. They're an MFR therapist. They're not fully booked. They haven't started a business, maybe. What would you say to them about their hesitations to join coaching?
You know what? Just do it, right? Like for me, it's been such a helpful tool to have. I'm also a big believer on trusting your gut. So if your gut's pushing you to go towards Heather's foundation programs, then just do it. Don't second guess that. That would be really just basic. Just tap into yourself. Tapping into yourself is where we have all of our knowledge.
Awesome. I love that so much. I want to just point out, like, for the first time ever, when people enroll now in foundations, before they enroll, they can book a sales call with me. So we'll have a link in the show notes so people can book a sales call with me. If they have any questions, they can talk to me directly. And then the other thing is when you sign up, you get a 1 hour phone call with me, which is a $500 value, something I have not previously ever offered since my one-on-one coaching days. So those are available now too. I just really want everybody to know where to start in the program, how to use the program best, and how to get every single dollar back as quickly as possible so that you can focus on selling MFR. Like, because let's face it, like that's the hardest hurdle to get over is comfortably selling and being a therapist. Those two identities don't always go together, but I want to start marrying those together, that you can be both. You can be a salesperson and a therapist, and neither identity has to be bad or good. Like, they're just very good together because it helps make MFR mainstream and it helps people get the help that they need. And it starts with us. We're the ones that keep MFR secret, and we need to stop it.
It's true. And you know what? That is very generous of you to offer that. That's really great. The person can get a feel for you. You can get a feel for them and see if you guys are the right fit for each other. That's really nice. Cool.
Mhm. I mean, we have to make sure people can put up with my jokes and my snarky behavior. Just kidding.
Or just accept who you are and see what happens.
Just accept it. It's fine, everybody.
You know what I told myself before this interview? I was like, I think of Sting, who I deem as my second boyfriend, the artist from Police. And he says, be yourself no matter what they say. And I think that guy is brilliant and he knows what he's talking about.
That's right. I mean, we really can't be anybody else than who we are. Like,
yeah.
I just don't have the energy to fake it anymore.
I hear you.
Is what you get.
It's not even worth it, though.
Not
right?
even worth it. No,
yeah.
No. Okay. Where can people find you? You want to give us your website?
Sure. It's www.icmfr.com. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I am very close to the Fort Lauderdale airport.
Amazing. Okay. So find Luan on the MFR directory. You're also on my network, right?
No.
Oh, you got to get on there, ma'am.
You're not wrong. I have a list of things that I can put on. I will put it on there to do.
She'll be on there by the time this airs. And you can find that at www.themfrcoach.com/network, your website. And then can people find you on Google as well?
Yes, I'm on Google. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And the name of her business is Intentional Connections. So make sure if you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, you book ahead because she's going to be fully booked, and make sure you get your treatment while you're visiting. So fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for today. I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. All right. For everybody else, we'll see you next week on another episode of the MFR Coaches podcast. And I'm always going to say I'm going to see you, even though we're just going to talk to each other. All right. Till then, bye-bye. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a minute and rate and review the podcast. I appreciate it. For more information, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The MFR Coach. And check out my website, www.themfrcoach.com, for more information. If you are currently not working 20 hours or less and making 6 figures in your MFR business, I want to help you change that. Make sure you tune into the show and get on my email list so you never miss out on important trainings and information. To be the first to find out when we are enrolling next for my 12-month Business Foundations coaching program, get on that email list at www.themfrcoach.com/join. Inside this program, you'll learn how to raise your rate, overcome objections, and sell MFR. You'll become the MFR therapist that never under-earns and never burns out. It's up to us to make MFR mainstream, and it starts with you and your successful MFR practice. See you next week.